For millions of years, they were the undisputed monarchs of the land, casting a long shadow over their emerging rivals. We imagine the Triassic period as a nascent age for dinosaurs, but that picture is incomplete. Before the tyrannosaurs and sauropods commanded respect, another lineage held dominion. These were the Rauisuchians, predators so formidable they forced dinosaurs into a struggle for survival. Get ready to discover the true apex rulers of the Triassic. Picture Earth some 249 million years ago at the dawn of the Triassic. The air was thick, the landscape raw. Life was recovering from the greatest extinction event in history, and new forms were battling for supremacy. Among them, a group of creatures was rapidly ascending, the Rauisuchians. These aren't the dinosaurs you know. They were distinct, belonging to the same broader classification, Archosauria, which includes both dinosaurs and crocodilians. But while dinosaurs would eventually evolve into birds, Rauisuchians were part of the pseudosuchian line, the ancient relatives of today's alligators and crocodiles. Yet their appearance and might were far removed from any modern reptile. These were monsters, pushing the very boundaries of ferocity. Their lineage spanned across 39 different genera, each a testament to nature's capacity for creating terrifying predators. Defined as Triassic pseudosuchians, they were typically colossal, four-legged carnivores, though evolution ensured a spectrum of forms. Today, paleontologists often describe them as an informal grouping, a family tree with many branching paths, but what remains crystal clear is their staggering power. When we think of giant land predators, images of Tyrannosaurus rex or Giganotosaurus spring to mind, but the Rauisuchians predated them and in many cases outsized their early dinosaur contemporaries by a wide margin. Most members of this group measured between 4 to 6 meters, or 13 to 20 feet in length, comparable to the largest crocodiles on Earth today. Yet some pushed these limits even further. Take Postosuchus, arguably the most renowned of the bunch. It stretched beyond 7 meters, or 23 feet, becoming the largest predator in its immediate environment. But even Postosuchus was dwarfed by certain cousins. Imagine creatures like Sarcosuchus and Prasuchus, both capable of reaching an astonishing 7.5 meters, or 25 feet long. To put that in perspective, these animals were bigger than any terrestrial mammalian carnivore, living or extinct. Such immense dimensions cemented their status as the apex threats of any Triassic ecosystem. They were unequivocally larger than any known predatory dinosaur of their time, and in many regions, they were the largest megafauna, period. This was especially true in the early Triassic, a time when large herbivores were scarcer in the wake of the previous global cataclysm. Yet, perhaps the most astounding member of the Rauisuchian family emerged when the group had already established its dominance. This was Fasolasuchus, a true behemoth that hailed from northwestern Argentina during the Norian stage of the Triassic. This creature redefined massive. Even smaller specimens of Fasolasuchus were believed to be larger than almost every other Rauisuchian, with the mature individuals reaching an estimated 3.1 tons in weight and a staggering 10 meters, or 33 feet, in length. That makes Fasolasuchus bigger than some of the most famous later theropods, like Dorgosaurus, Majungasaurus, and Carnotaurus. With these dimensions, Fasolasuchus wasn't just bigger than any contemporary dinosaur, it was significantly larger than any land predator ever produced by mammals, and frankly, almost any other terrestrial carnivore to appear after the age of dinosaurs ended. The largest post-dinosaur land predator, Baronosuchus, was a mere fraction of Fasolasuchus's weight. Clearly, in an environment stalked by such a monster, every other creature, including early dinosaurs like Coloratosaurus and Zoopisaurus, would have instinctively understood who ruled. Dinosaurs had already been on the scene for some 13 million years by this point, diversifying impressively, even evolving early sauropods. Yet they were merely prey. It is believed that Lissamysaurus, a basal sauropod, might have been a primary food source for Fasolasuchus. Given Lissamysaurus's own impressive 7-ton weight, it's clear that immense prey often leads to equally immense predators. And these titans grew fast. Studies on Rauisuchian bones suggest rapid growth rates, often outstripping those of dinosaurs, providing yet another critical advantage. How did these giants assert their dominance? With an array of devastating tools. Fasolasuchus, for instance, would have employed its colossal skull, a head roughly the size of a human adult, bristling with immense, razor-sharp teeth. These were designed not for crushing bone, but for tearing away vast quantities of flesh, leading to rapid blood loss and incapacitating shock. Indeed, the dentition of Rauisuchians in general made them formidable adversaries. Their teeth were unusually long, exceptionally sharp, and subtly curved, functioning almost like sabers. This design allowed them to inflict tremendous damage with relatively minimal force. Consider Sarcosuchus, one of the larger and better understood Rauisuchians. Its head alone was the length of a medium-sized dog. Recent research, surprisingly, indicates a relatively weak bite force, comparable to a modern gharial, a fish eating specialist. Yet, because its teeth were so exquisitely adapted for cutting, scientists still consider Sarcosuchus an undisputed apex predator, hunting large-bodied prey by simply shearing off huge chunks of flesh. The only perceived drawback might have been occasionally leaving meat on bones that were too tough to strip clean. While some Rauisuchians likely shared this powerful shearing, weaker bite strategy, it's not believed to be universal. The emerging consensus suggests a diverse range of feeding techniques across the group, with some species built to shred robust prey, while others targeted softer, more vulnerable animals. This adaptability meant they could prey on virtually everything the Triassic had to offer, from early dinosaurs, dicynodonts, non-archosaur reptiles, and even other pseudosuchians. Beyond their fearsome weaponry, most Rauisuchians possessed another significant advantage over Triassic dinosaurs: armor. Much like their distant crocodilian descendants of today, Rauisuchians sported osteoderms, bony deposits forming plates embedded in their skin. These typically covered their backs, necks, and sometimes extended over and under their tails. Compared to other armored animals, Rauisuchian osteoderms were remarkably thick, even more robust than those found on modern crocodiles, which are themselves highly resistant to cuts and slashes. This might seem like overkill, but it speaks to the intense predatory competition of the Triassic. These osteoderms could be arranged in single or double rows and were often asymmetrical, perhaps offering each individual a unique pattern for social recognition. The armor varied wildly in shape, too. Rauisuchian, for instance, bore osteoderms that were distinctly heart-shaped. While adorable in concept, their purpose was purely defensive. Given that Rauisuchians were already the dominant predators, it's hypothesized that this extensive armor wasn't primarily a deterrent against coexisting dinosaurs or other archosaurs. Instead, it was likely crucial for intraspecific combat, battles against rival Rauisuchians. This theory is supported by the concentration of osteoderms on their dorsal surfaces, which, given their immense size, would have been largely inaccessible to most predators other than their own kind. However, not all Rauisuchians shared this luxury of heavy armor. A small number, like Rauisuchian, a comparatively smaller member from what is now China, relied on tough hide and a nimble skeletal structure for agility and speed rather than thick plates. The ingenuity of Rauisuchian evolution didn't stop at teeth and armor. This group displayed an incredible propensity for convergent evolution, developing features remarkably similar to those found in entirely different lineages, including the very dinosaurs they lorded over. Consider Arizonosaurus. As its name suggests, it roamed what is now Arizona. What immediately strikes you about this archosaur isn't its lack of osteoderms, but its prominent sail. Yes, just like some dinosaurs, Rauisuchians evolved sails. This remarkable case of parallel evolution likely arose from the intensely hot Triassic temperatures, which averaged twice as warm as today's. The sail is believed to aid in thermal regulation, helping these massive creatures manage their body heat.
Arizonosaurus wasn't alone. Other sail-backed Rauisuchians included Tenosuchus, Brahmagroya, and Hypsicraca. While thermal regulation was a primary function, these sails might also have served as vivid social displays.
The weirdness didn't end there. Rauisuchian, for instance, lacked a sail but embraced a semi-aquatic lifestyle, despite most Rauisuchians being purely terrestrial. It's the only Rauisuchian thought to be truly competent in water. Fossil tail remains of Rauisuchian reveal a large, laterally compressed tail with tall neural spines, clear indicators of powerful aquatic propulsion. Other aquatic adaptations included reduced dermal armor and an elongated neck, perhaps for snatching fish. Yet it retained unspecialized legs, suggesting it could still navigate land if needed. Thankfully for any hypothetical Triassic time travelers, it wasn't the biggest aquatic predator, and it preferred the shallow, warm seas of the time, not freshwater sources. This lifestyle made it curiously similar to the Nothosaurus, another Triassic marine reptile, highlighting the group's uncanny talent for convergent evolution. Perhaps the most striking example of convergent evolution among Rauisuchians was their adoption of bipedal locomotion, mirroring the very theropods living in their shadow. Remember the earlier description of Rauisuchians as typically quadrupedal? Well, exceptions abound. Some species abandoned this rule, developing a two-legged gait, evident in genera like Shuvasaurus, Ophidia, Poposaurus, and Pseudosuchians. It wasn't just walking on two legs that made them theropod-like. These species often featured reduced forelimbs, dinosaur-like hips, and skull structures eerily similar to certain theropods. It's easy to see why, for a time, paleontologists mistakenly classified them as theropods. However, their distinctive croc-Tarzan ankles and pillar-erect stances eventually revealed their true pseudosuchian identity. Interestingly, none of these theropod-mimicking Rauisuchians coexisted with fully fledged large predatory dinosaurs, instead sharing their environments with more primitive dinosaur forms, who themselves could also be bipedal. In true Rauisuchian fashion, these bipedal forms often became the closest two-legged creatures in size to the giant theropods of later eras. Not all of them reached colossal sizes. Ophidia and Poposaurus were comparatively smaller, but Pseudosuchus was a true monster, rivaling even the magnificent Fasolasuchus in scale. Its hip and hind limb structures suggest a mature length of up to 10 meters, or 33 feet, and it stood around 2.5 meters, or 8.2 feet tall, making it a bipedal giant. While it matched Fasolasuchus in length, its lighter skeletal build meant it wasn't quite as heavy, weighing an estimated 2 tons. Pseudosuchus also broke another Rauisuchian rule: diet. Unlike most Rauisuchians, which were hypercarnivores, Pseudosuchus was an herbivore sporting a toothless beak perfect for shearing leaves from trees. Other bipedal genera, like Ophidia, also adopted this plant-eating lifestyle. Poposaurus, however, remained a fierce carnivore, likely an agile, fast hunter, much like the smaller predatory theropods of its time. Even Postosuchus, the famous quadrupedal predator, is debated by some as potentially having been committed to bipedalism, at least part-time. This evolution of bipedalism in Rauisuchians may have granted them improved vision for spotting prey or food, or simply a more efficient form of locomotion. Lest you imagine the quadrupedal Rauisuchians as slow, lumbering brutes, think again. While they might superficially resemble large crocodiles, these apex predators were primarily terrestrial. They possessed well-developed legs, long and, crucially, positioned directly beneath their bodies, unlike the sprawling stance of modern crocodilians. This pillar-erect posture allowed for highly efficient movement on land. Fossilized tracks found in Europe, attributed to the Rauisuchian typicus, suggest a cruising speed of approximately 12 kilometers per hour while moving. That's faster than a human jog and quick enough to catch most Triassic animals. Researchers even believe these tracks might represent a fast walk rather than a full sprint, implying even higher top speeds were possible.
Additionally, in many Rauisuchians, even the fully quadrupedal ones, the front limbs tended to be shorter and lighter, further emphasizing their agility and nimble nature, shattering any notion of them being slow, land-bound crocs. This potent combination of diverse locomotion, immense size, fearsome teeth, and formidable armor firmly established Rauisuchians as the true kings of the Triassic, holding sway over the nascent dinosaur lineages. Yet dinosaurs were not always subjected to this rule. They hadn't even evolved in the early Triassic. Current estimates place their emergence around 233 million years ago, roughly 16 million years after the first Rauisuchians. This head start likely played a significant role in the Rauisuchians' initial dominance, the classic first come, first served. Despite this disadvantage, dinosaurs made remarkable progress in a relatively short geological span. Sauropodomorphs achieved impressive sizes, and some early theropods, like Rauisuchians and Gogyrosaurus, grew to a respectable 6 meters, or 20 feet in length. However, this was still insufficient to challenge the Rauisuchian overlords. These early dinosaurs often coexisted with far larger adversaries, including Fasolasuchus, as was the case for Rauisuchians. Fossil records vividly illustrate this power imbalance. Dinosaurs rarely constituted more than 10% of the animal population in most environments, with larger carnivorous species being particularly scarce. Smaller dinosaurs fared slightly better. Coelophysis, a speedy little theropod no heavier than an Australian cattle dog, used its quickness to carve out niches typically avoided by pseudosuchians. Dinosaurs also appeared to thrive in Earth's colder environments, where Rauisuchians were less abundant. Even there, at least 1 or 2 Rauisuchian genera could usually be found, still holding the title of apex predator.
This seemingly ubiquitous presence of Rauisuchians was a direct result of the supercontinent Pangaea. During the Triassic, all major landmasses were joined, allowing Rauisuchians to spread across every continent except Antarctica. The Triassic world was also dramatically different in other ways, much of it a super desert. The sparse rivers and lakes within this vast dryness would have concentrated prey for Rauisuchians, showcasing their resilience. During frequent droughts, Rauisuchian fossils become more abundant, implying they easily took control of dwindling water sources, often being the last predators standing. Some paleontologists even suggest that Rauisuchians gained an upper hand through gregarious behavior. Certain genera, like Rauisuchians, are often found in groups, with one discovery revealing 9 individuals together. With so many advantages, the future of Earth's apex predators seemed irreversibly set. Then, in a profound twist of fate, an event that would one day challenge the dinosaurs' own reign actually saved them: a mass extinction. Many forget that the Mesozoic era, the age of dinosaurs, experienced not 1, but 2 of the 5 major extinction events. One of these, the lesser-known Triassic-Jurassic extinction, struck approximately 201.4 million years ago, unleashing devastating impacts on global life. The precise details remain somewhat blurry, but the leading scientific hypothesis points to catastrophic eruptions of the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, or CAMP for short. This enormous continental igneous province covers an area larger than Canada. It's believed these eruptions occurred over a staggering 600,000-year period, involving 4 distinct pulses that together wiped out 3/4 of all species on Earth. And the Rauisuchians were not spared. In the midst of this cataclysm, every single Rauisuchian genus vanished. The world was suddenly devoid of its most fearsome land predators, opening the ecological doors wide for theropods and dinosaurs in general. Why Rauisuchians perished while dinosaurs survived remains an active area of research. Several ideas have been proposed. Perhaps dinosaurs, already more common in colder regions, were better adapted to endure the climatic fallout from the volcanic eruptions, a volcanic winter. Others suggest a simpler answer. Dinosaurs were merely faster at evolving, or perhaps it was nothing more than dumb luck. Whatever the reason, the outcome was decisive.
dinosaurs emerged victorious into the early Jurassic, perfectly positioned to inherit a vacant world. The stage was set for their unprecedented 150 million year dynasty, a reign only made possible by the sudden, dramatic collapse of the true kings of the Triassic. The Rauisuchians reminds us that dominance is transient, and even the most formidable rulers can be toppled by the silent, violent forces of a changing planet.